So hello everyone and welcome back to the session on your stacks here. So today we are going to discuss about one of the application related to stack what we are having here. So that is you people are very much familiar with that particular topic what we are going to discuss today, that is nothing but regression. Okay, so in C programming you might have already discussed about what do you mean by regression here, and you might have written various programs using this particular regression. Something like we have a program something called as factorial. We can write a factorial program using regression, isn't it? And we have something like Fibonacci series what we have. So this also we can write using regression concept. You people might have written using C language. And apart from that, we have something called as towers of Hanai problem. Towers of Hanai. So this is also one of the most important problem which we can solve using regression. So here you might be wondering here why we are going to discuss a regression in this particular stack application, because whenever you people are applying to any program a regression concept here, regression by default uses stack in order to perform the operation. So indirectly regression is the one of the application related to your stacks here. So whatever the program you might be writing in regression format, whatever the data that is getting stored there, that will be stored. How that is stored in the system is nothing but the regression basically uses a stacks concept here, and based on that it actually stores the information with which it can actually perform the various operations. So today we are going to discuss that. That is nothing but your familiar, something you people are already familiar with, something called as regression. So in regression, we have different programs here. So all we can't cover in this particular thing, in this particular session. So we will be discussing only two here, something related to factorial calculation. So you people already know how that factorial calculation takes place and all. Just a revision kind of thing. And at the same time, I'll show you how it is actually stored in stack, how factorial program uses stacks in order to perform this regression calculation. And apart from that, we are going to discuss something called as tower of Hanai problem. These are the two problems what we are going to discuss today. This one, that is nothing but factorial calculation, and another one is something we call it as tower of Hanai problem. So these are very important problem and interesting problem too. So we will discuss one by one, don't worry. So let's go ahead. So first we'll have some introduction related to something called as regression. What do you mean by regression exactly here in this particular scene? So if a normal definition need to be given for this particular regression function is nothing but it is basically a function. Regression is nothing but it is a function which calls itself. Means a function which is calling to itself again and again is what we basically call it as regression. And why it is calling here is nothing but to solve a smaller version of a task. Basically, whatever the problem you're trying to solve, let us take an example of a factorial. 5 factorial you want to do. So indirectly, what you people have to do is 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, and this is what. So this what exactly he means to say here is that this is a very big problem it is consuming here in this particular scenario. So using regression, what we will do is we will try to call the same function again, and we will in the when we are calling that particular function, we will be giving a smaller version of the task. The task here is that I need to calculate 5 factorial, but when I'm calling the same function again and again, I am dividing this particular I mean, whatever the task I want to perform here, I am dividing that into a smaller task, very small one. And this regression will keep on calling it until and unless I have a task that is small enough that I can execute it very easily. That is nothing but your 1 factorial. So 1 factorial. Do you think that we require regression in order to perform 1 factorial? We know that 1 factorial is nothing smallest task that is there. So until you people are coming from 5 to 4, 3, 2, until you are coming to 1, till then this particular function will be calling itself. Suppose if you take 10 factorial here, what it will do? First it will call 10 into 9 factorial. And then after that again it will call regression, and this time 9 into 8 factorial. Again the regression, the same function will be called again, and this time it will be something like 10 into 9 into 8 into 7 factorial, and 7 factorial is also very big. So again 10 into 9 into 8 into 7 into 6 factorial, so on, and until it becomes 1 factorial. And you know that 1 factorial is equal to 1. This is smallest enough. You people will be simply displaying that, and then again it will go in a reverse order. Means what I means to say here exactly here is nothing but within this particular stack, whatever you're using, we are actually storing these elements. So initially I'm storing 9. So whenever this particular function is calling a factorial of 10 factorial, so 10 into n minus 1 factorial. So this is what 9 factorial. Then this particular 9, 10 will be placed into the stack. And when the function is calling with the number 9 factorial, we will be having 9 into 8 factorial. Means again the function is calling itself with 8 factorial. Then this particular number 9 we are going to store into this particular stack. Then we'll be storing 8, 7, 6, 5, so on up to 1. And then we will, when we'll reach to the last point, this is a 1. Now we'll start popping one by one element and we'll do the multiplication. That is 1 into 2, 2 into 3, 3 into 4, 4 into 5, 5 into 6, into 7, 8, 9 and 10. Finally, you'll be getting whatever the output you have for 10 factorial. This is the way how exactly this particular regression works. So let's see. Actually, here there are two parts that we had to concentrate and we had to discuss here in this particular thing. Now we know that a regression basically calls itself, isn't it? A regression function is nothing but the function which will be calling itself again and again, okay, until the problem is small enough that it can be solved without calling that particular thing. So here every regression solution will be having two major cases. Whenever you're applying a regression function, these are the two cases which by default will be present there. First one is what we call it as a base case. Base case in the sense, in your concept here, this particular concept, something in 5 factorial, what did I say that this function, whatever the function you're using, fact of 5. Okay, for example, 5 factorial you're doing. So fact of 5. Now this function will keep on calling this. So 5 into fact of n minus 1. Isn't it? 8 minus 1 means next day, but n minus 1 is nothing but 5 minus 1 is 4. So again, it will call 4. So 5, next time when it is calling 4, so you'll be getting 5 into 4 into fact of n minus 1. So what is that? 4 minus 1, 3. So it will keep on calling like this until finally you reach it with 1. So fact of 1 is nothing but we basically call it as 1. This is the smallest one where we come to know that we don't have to call the factorial function again when you're reaching something called as fact of 1, isn't it? And this is what we call it as a base class. A base class for a particular problem is the one which actually indicates that we don't have to further call that particular regression function. That is what he is calling it as base class. So let's see the definition here. In this, the problem is simple enough to be solved directly. See, 1 factorial, can't you solve it easily? So you know that 1 factorial is nothing but 1. So it is very simple enough that it can be solved directly. But if I give you 4 factorial, no, it is not directly. We can't solve it because we had to do 4 into 3 factorial. And 3 factorial in the sense nothing but we had to do 3 into 2 factorial. And when you're calling to 2 factorial, so 2 into 1 factorial. And you know that 1 factorial is 1. So 2 into 1, 2. So this time will be coming here. So 3 into 2 is 6. That you will be giving here. So 4 into 6 is 24. This is the way how exactly this particular regression takes place. So here first thing what you people have to keep in mind is when you're applying regression is there are two different cases we have. One is the base case and another one is what we call it as regressive case. Base case is the one where the problem is small enough that it can be solved very directly, something like 1 factorial. And you know that 1 factorial is 1, it is very simple. Then what about the regression case here? This is the one where we will be starting handling with the first problem. That is nothing but 4 factorial or 5 factorial where we have actually started. Now, regression case, what we will do is we'll keep on calling that function until that becomes small enough like a base case. Until you reach a base case, you will be calling that particular function again and again. So what do you mean by that? What exactly you people are doing here? You people are simply trying to divide that particular problem into subparts. And that subparts you will calling using a particular regression. You'll be calling using, suppose initially 5 factorial you are there. So what you are calling here fact of 5 factorial. And within that function, what you will be calling here 5 into 4 factorial, isn't it? So again, what happens? Now the system will take this as a factorial function parameter for this particular factorial. Next time 5 into 4 into 3 factorial. And then again 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 factorial. This will keep on repeating it. So this is what we call it as recursive. So 5, after that we got 4, then 3, then 2 factorial. Now we are going to get something called as 2 into 1 factorial. And this is what we call it as base case, the one which we can solve easily. And you know 1 factorial is 1. So 1 into 2, how much you're going to get? 2. So 2 into 3, how much you're going to get? 6. So 4 into 6, how much? The reverse order. So 24. So 5 into 24, how much you're going to get? Totally 120. This is the way how exactly this particular actually algorithm or this particular regression function works. The only two things you people have to keep in mind: first is a base case, another is a recursive case. What do you mean by base case? Means the problem is small enough that it can be solved directly. Till then, you will be keep on calling the recursive case. Once you got a problem which is small enough that you can solve it easily, then we say that it comes under a base case. What do you recursive case here in this particular case is nothing but we will be dividing a problem. We'll first find whether the problem is small enough that it can be solved in a single stretch or not. If it is not, we will be dividing that problem into subparts. So that subpart again we will be dividing into another subpart. Something like 5 into 4 factorial we were doing exactly. Then what we are doing 4 into 3 factorial. We are subdividing it. Then again I'll divide this 3 factorial into 3 into 2 factorial. Again I will divide this 2 factorial into 2 into 1 factorial. You know 1 factorial is 1. Now you'll come back. So 2 into 1 is 2. You'll come back here. So 3 into 2, how much you're going to get? 6. That 6 will be coming here. So 6, 4 into 6, how much? 24. That 24. So finally 5 into 24. So that is equal to 120. This is the way how exactly this particular regression function actually takes place. So remember, by default, regression is actually using something called as stags. How it is using stag is nothing but the number of times you're calling a function, that particular value is getting stored here: 5, 4, 3, 2, and then 1. Then finally 1 into 2 is 2, 3 into 2 6, 4, 6 into 4 is 24, 24 into 5 is something 120. Popping up one by one, the elements will be popped up which are stored in the stack. So initially last element what we stored here is 1. So 1 into 2. So what you're getting 2. Then what is the next element we had to pop out is 3. So 3 into 2, how much? 6. What is the next element we have in the table? 4. So 4 into 6, how much you're getting? 24. Then finally 5. So 5 into 24 is nothing but you're getting the ultimately 5 factorial, that is 120. This is the way how exactly this particular regression works. I will show you, don't worry. So the final conclusion here is regression is nothing but defining the large and complex problems in terms of smaller. Means whatever the large and the complex problem we people are trying to solve it up, we will divide them into smaller parts, very, very small. Okay, so that that particular task is small enough that we can solve that particular task very easily in a single stretch. That is what we call it as regression. Let's take an example for here. The same example what we are taking, you people are already familiar with factorial of a number. So we know that n factorial, when we are applying regression here, we use something like, we multiply the number with the factorial of a number that is 1 less than the number. That is nothing but we means to that set 5 into 4. So we try to multiply that number. What is the number here? 5 into 1 less than that number. 1 less than means 5 minus 1. How much? 4 factorial. And when you are applying 4 factorial, what you are doing? 4. We are multiplying that number, that is 4 into 4 minus 1, 1 less than. So 3 factorial. And when you talk about 3 factorial here, so that number we are multiplying with 1 less than that number. So that is 2 factorial. And 2 means 2 into 1 factorial. So now we'll go in this order. So 2 ones are 2. So here. So 3 into 2, how much? So what is the output you got for 2 factorial here? 2. So 3 twos are how much? 6. For 3 factorial, you got the output as 6. 4 6 are how much? 24. Now that 24 you are giving as the output for your 4 factorial. So finally 5 into 24 is equal to 120. That is what he means to say. And what is the function? How we can use this as a function? N factorial equal to n into n minus 1 factorial. So this is how we are exactly applying here in this particular concept. So let's see here. I will show you diagrammatically also so that you can understand here. So to calculate n factorial, this is what the formula we are actually using here. So let us suppose we need to find the value of 5 factorial. How we exactly do usually is 5 factorial equal to 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. Well, this is based on iteration. This is not based on regression. Okay, this solution which I am giving you here, 5 factorial, this is based on iteration. How can we do iterations here? Using for loop, isn't it? Using for loop, if you're doing direct one, we are not using any regression concept here in this case. But when you apply a regression concept, then how you are getting the output? This is what we call regression. So 5 factorial is nothing but 5 star 4 factorial, where 4 factorial is nothing but 4 star 3 factorial, where 3 factorial is nothing but 3 star 2 factorial. This is what I was explaining here. So 2 factorial is nothing but 2 star 1 factorial. Now what happens in the meantime when you're calling this function again and again? Initially this 5 is there. This is the one which I'm going to store in a stack 5. Then I called the function 4 factorial. So 4 into 3 factorial. Now I'm going to call the function 3 factorial. So what about this number 4? I'll be storing here. Then 3 factorial means 3 into 2 factorial. Then I will be storing the value 3. I'm going to push that element 3 here. Then I will be calling the function 2 factorial. Then 2 factorial is nothing but 2 into 1 factorial. So I'm going to push that number 2 into this particular location. Then finally I'm left with 1 factorial, which is the output. So I don't have to push this 1 factorial into the what we call stack. Within this stack, I don't have to push 1 factorial because I know 1 factorial is equal to 1. So simply what I'm going to do is when I get the result 1 here, whichever the element is present in the stack on the top, where the top will be presented here right now here. So top, it will be popping it up. Now this element, what is that? 2. So 1 into 2, how much you're getting? 2. Next element what we have here is 3. I'm going to pop it up. So top is representing here now. So I'm going to pop this element 3 here. Now the top will be coming to this particular location. So 3 into 2. How much you're getting? 6. Now what is the element we have in the top here? 4. I'll be popping it. So now top is here and coming here. So 4 into 6. How much you're getting? 4. And then again, the last element what is present here, we'll be removing it. So 5 into 24. That is how much? 120. This is the way how exactly this particular function, your regression function works. And this is the way how exactly it uses stack. See here, 5 into 4 factorial the first time. Okay, I will show this with the help of a program so that it becomes easy for you people to understand. So this is something how we can write it. So first time when you're calling a regression function, so this is 5 into 4 factorial. And second time when you're calling the function, you will be having something called as fact of 4. That is 4 factorial, and 4 factorial is nothing but 4 into 3 star, this one. And in this case, you'll be calling fact of 3. So you'll be getting something like 5 star, 4 star, 3 star, 2 factorial. And when you're calling fact of 2, then you'll be getting 5 star 4. Star is nothing but multiplication, 2 star 1 factor. So this is 1 factorial. So when you're calling 1 factorial, you know that 1 factorial is small enough that we can solve it. So ultimately you'll get 1. So 1 into 2 is 2. Then into 3, 6. 6 into 4, 24. And then 5 into 24 is what you're going to get, 120. This is the way how exactly this function works. See here. So you gave the problem as 5 factorial. So the function is calling itself now. So when it will call 5 factorial, the output will be 5 into 4 factorial. Now the function is going to call 4 factorial. 4 factorial when it is calling, then it will be 5 into 4 into 3. Now this 5 and 4, we will push it into the stack. Then 3 factorial is nothing but 3 into 2 factorial. Now this 5, 4 and 3 will be pushed into the stack. And then again 2 factorial is nothing but 2 into 1 factorial. So this 5, 4, 3 and 2 will be pushed into the stack. And when you're coming to this 1 factorial here, you can see a 1 factorial. This is small enough. You can solve it. 1 factorial is 1. You got it 1. Now you will be popping one element from the stack. What is that? 2. So 2 into 1, how much you're getting? 2. So 2 into 3, how much you're getting? 6. 6 into 4, you're popping one by one. Now 3 has been popped. 3 into 2 is 6. Now 4 is going to be popped out. 4 6 is 24. Now finally 5 is going to be popped out. 5 into 24 is 128. See, this is the way how exactly this particular thing works. So by default, regression is using something called as what we call here. Regression is using something called as here stacks. push and pop operations, but we don't have to write push and pop operations. Internally it is performing, means the regression function by default, the program by default will be using stack operations, that is push and pop, in order to perform. We don't have to write push or pop within that particular program. That's why we never see, when you're doing this factorial program, you will never see something called as functions called as push function or pop. Why? Because those are written within the program itself. When you're calling that function again, automatically the system will take it into a stack and it will store it up. So every regression function, we are going to have a base case. So what is the base case in this case? 1 factorial is the base case. Okay. And from here, this is small enough we can solve, we will solve, and then we'll process in a backward direction one by one by popping the elements from it. So here the base case you can see when n equal to 1, because if n is 1, the result will be 1, as 1 factorial is 1. So this is what we call it as base case. And then what about the regression cases? Here nothing but 5 factorial, 4 factorial, 3 factorial, 2 factorial. All these are what we call it as recursive case. I think you people might have understood now how exactly this particular thing works. So for example, if I ask you what is a base case for your 10 factorial, so you can simply say, sir, it is 1 factorial, because we know 1 factorial is 1. We don't have to again split this. Okay, so then what about the recursive case here? 10 factorial, then 9 factorial, 8 factorial, 7, 6, 5 factorial, 4 factorial, 3 factorial, 2 factorial. All these comes under your recursive case. This one. What is the base case here? Only 1 factorial, because this is small enough. The problem is small enough that you people can solve it. We don't have to divide again that particular problem. So what is the formula we use here? Factorial n equal to n into factorial n minus 1. Same thing we are going to write. So I'll show you the program here. This is the program what we are exactly using here. So I don't have to explain it. I think we already explained it before. Okay, so what I'm doing exactly here is hash include stdio.h int fact. Okay, there's a small mistake here. This should be replaced. I just forgot. This is my mistake here. Here you people have to write factorial. CFAT RIOL factorial, because I have used the function here factorial. So this has to be replaced. Okay, so don't get confused. So here you have to write something called as this particular factorial name there. Remaining process is same. So what is the in main method? What I'm doing, I'm taking num comma value, enter the number. What is the number you wanted to perform here? Value is nothing but finally I should get the output. Suppose 5 factorial I want. The output is 120. That 120 I'm storing into a variable called as value. What is the number here? Number is nothing but here 5. Suppose I want to get 10 factorial, means I'll give the number here 10. So printf factorial of percentage is equal to how much? So see, if you see here, I have called the factorial function here in this particular statement. Value equal to factorial of number. From here, the control will be shifted to this particular location. Int factorial n. So what is the number? Suppose I given the number as 5. So if n is equal to 0, return 1. Or you can write if n is equal to 1 here. That's up to you. Okay, both ways it will work. So if n is equal to 1, you can write return 1. So return n star factorial n minus 1. So what is that? In case if it is 1, it will simply display 1. That is nothing but 1 factorial is equal to 1. That is what we are doing. In case if it is a greater than 1, okay, suppose you are having 5 or 4 or 3 or 2, then we are going to use this one. So what is the initial condition we have here? What is the initial value we have here? Okay, let me show you with the example here. Same thing. So what I'm doing here, 5 factorial. So 5, this is a number 5. Is 5 equal to 0? Condition fails. We will be coming to return. So return 5 star factorial of n minus 1. What is the value of n here? 5. 5 minus 1 is 4. So 5 into 4 factorial, this one. Yeah, I hope you people are getting it. Now system will be by default. So when you're calling this factorial n minus 1 means factorial of 4 factor. So it will come here. Now this time the value of n will be 4. So in the meantime, the system will store the value of 5 into the stack. So into the stack, the system will be pushing that value 5 here. And this time, what is the value we got it here? 4. So 4 equal to 0, condition fails. So 4 return 4 star factorial of 4 minus 1 is 3. Again, the control will come to here. Then when the control is coming here, what about this particular 4? It will be pushed onto the stack 4. So we are not pushing, the system is doing that. Then we are getting something called as 3 here. So 3 is equal to 0. No, the condition fails. Again, you'll be coming here. So this time, what is the output you're going to get? What is the n value? 3. 3 into factorial of 3 minus 1, that is 2. Again, you're coming here. So this time again, that 3 will be pushed into this particular stack. So now what is the value you got it here? 2. So again, this time 2 is equal to 0. No, 2 into 1 factorial. It will come here. So 2, you're going to store it here. Now after that, what you're getting? 1 factorial. So this time the factor number is 1. N equal to 0, condition fails. You will be so 1 into factorial of n minus 1, 0. So you know that 0 factorial is also 1. 1 factorial is also 1. So you'll be again coming back here. Now this time, what is the n value you got it here is 0. And this time the return function will not work. So you're storing 1 here in this particular case. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now if n is equal to 0, yes, this time n is equal to 0. What I'm returning 1. So this 1 will be returned to this particular function. That is 1. Then we already have this particular function here. So we'll be popping one element now. So 1. So what is the first element we have on the top? 1. So 1 into 1, how much you're getting? 1. What is the next element we have here? 2. So 2 into 1, 2. Then the next element we got here is 3. So what is the result we got? 2. So 3 into 2 is nothing but 6. Now that 6 will be multiplying with 4. So 4 into 6, 24. And this 24 will be multiplying with the element 5. So 5 into 4, 24. How much you're getting? 120. The same thing I have represented here. This is how exactly this particular stack function actually works. I hope you people got it. Okay. And this is the analysis part. Whatever I explained you here, that I have written in a step-by-step manner. That is, so nothing else. So there are some 6 steps here. Specify the base case, which will stop the function well from making a call to. So base case is nothing but 1 factorial. In this case, 1 factorial is the base case. So until it is reaching 1 factorial, it will keep on calling the recursive case. So whenever it is coming to 1 factorial, we can call it as a base case and we can stop calling that regression function. Now, second step is when we are performing this, check to see whether the current value being processed matches with the value of the base case. So whichever the value we are checking, we try to find here whether the same is there or not. Like 4 factorial, is 4 factorial equal to 1 factorial? No. So it will keep on. So remember, whatever the steps I've written here, these are done internally by the system. Don't worry. Okay. So 4 factorial, system will find 4 factorial equal to 1 factorial. No. So automatically it will not do. So it will again call 4 into 3 factorial. And this will keep on repeating until you're reaching to this particular location. That is 1 factorial. Then divide the problem into smaller and simple problems. Call this function from each subproblem one by one, and then combine the results. That is what I did now. Just now what I did is that, like when I was representing a table here, where I had 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 here. So what I was doing, 1 factorial is nothing but 0 factorial is nothing but 1. So 1 into, I'm combining the answers now. So 1 into, what is the first element I have? 1. So 1 into 1 is 1. Now this result I'm combining with this. So 1 into 2 is 2. Then next element 3. So 3 into 2 is 6. That I'm combining with 4. So 4 into 6 is 24. So lastly 5 into 24 is nothing but 120. This is what I have shown you. See, 4, 6. So 3, 1 factorial 1. So 2 into 1 is 2. So 3 into 2 is 6. 4 into 6, 24. 5 into 24 is 120. So this is the way how exactly this particular thing works. So these are some of the steps how exactly this regression works. Next, the next application what we have in this particular scenario here is nothing but we have Tower of Hanoi. The next regression method what we have exactly here is Tower of Hanoi. So this is one of the important problem what we have. Let me explain it. What exactly we are going to do in this particular case is nothing but you can, oh sorry. So here we are actually having 3 pillars. Let me explain the problem here. What is the problem exactly in this particular case? We are having 3 pillars. A, B, C. You people can see, you can call it as a pillars or you can call it as a pole. Whatever you would like to say, you can call it up. Now here, first one is A, B, and C. There are 3 pillars we are having, and there are 3 discs. This is disk number 1, disk number 2, and this disk number 3. Now what you people had to do exactly here is, this is your source pillar. This is your destination pillar. This is your auxiliary pillar. Auxiliary is nothing but temporary pillar. Okay. Now your task is that you have to shift these three disks from source node to the destination pillar. From the source pillar or the source pole, you have to make them go to the destination pole. That is your task. And it should be in the same order the way it is represented. The higher disk should be present in the lower and the shortest disk should be present onto the top. You can see here 1, 2, 3. The third disk is higher. The second disk is somewhat shorter to the third disk. Whereas coming to the first disk, this is somewhat shorter than this. So it should be in this particular order. The smallest disk should come onto the top and the largest disk should be present onto the bottom. This is a way. And now you have to shift it from this particular pillar, from this particular pole A to the destination pole, something called as C. And you can use this pillar, auxiliary pillar, and using this pillar you people can try to shift it up. However you want to do, you can do it up. This is what actually it is a type of a game. And there is a myth, I don't know how many of you know, there is a myth in Hindu like a Hindu Bhagavad Gita and all. There is a story that they say that actually gods were bored of creating this nature. Gods were actually totally bored of creating this nature. They wanted to destroy it. Then Lord Vishnu came into the rescue of that. He gave this particular concept. I mean, these three pillars. Here, how many discs you people are seeing? Three. But at that time, there are 72 discs, it seems. 72 discs. And they have given this to the gods, means who have actually creating this particular nature. And they asked them to shift this 72 disc from this pillar to this particular pillar. And if you're able to solve it up, if the day when this will be completed, means all these 72 disk will be coming to this pillar, then they can destroy this particular universe. That is what the condition that Lord Vishnu has kept on to this particular what we call other thing. This is a myth actually. This has been said that this is a myth. I think you people know what do you mean by myth is. Means there is no factual evidences related to that, but there is a story like that that they have given this for so that they wanted to make these particular people busy when working on this, because you know three pillars, shifting three pillars only, it is going to take a lot of time. Assume that 72 disk you have to shift from one pillar to another pillar using only three pillars, one as an auxiliary pillar, is actually a difficult task. So that's the thing he's saying. So how to solve it? So here the problem is to move all the rings from pole A to pole C. What is the pole here? This is your source pole A. This is your B. This is your source. So you have to shift all this disk from this pole to this particular pole. The main issue here is that the smaller disk must always come above the largest. Yeah, this is the condition. The condition here is that every time the smallest disk whichever is there, it should be always present on top of the larger disk. Remember that it should never come below, it should come onto the top. And what I means to say that the largest disk should come here. For example, let us suppose this is the first disk I am moving here. Okay, and what the second disk I am trying to move here, then I can't move into this particular pillar called as B. Why? Because the second disk is heavier and much more bigger than the first disk. And what is the condition here? The smaller disk should come onto the bigger disk. So the condition fails here. So that is what it means to say, whenever you're placing it, you should make sure that the largest disk is present at the bottom and the shortest disk is present on top of it. That is what you have to keep in mind. So in this case, A is the source pole, C is the destination. I already told you, and B is the spare. Spare is nothing but you can call it as auxiliary also, or sometimes you can also call it as temporary pillar. Okay, that's up to you, however you want to call. So you can call it as either spare, temporary, or auxiliary. Now to transfer all the three rings from A to C, first thing what we have to do is the upper two n-1 rings need to be shifted. Actually, there is a myth here. If you are able to solve n-1 problem easily, then nth problem can be solved easily. Suppose you have been given a problem, okay, to solve n problems. You have been given n problems to solve. There is a myth that if you can solve n-1 problems easily, then the nth problem can be solved very easily. That is what the concept we are applying here. So what is saying that if you are able to successfully shift the n-1 rings, means how many rings we have here? 1, 2, and 3. So 3 minus 1 is 2. If you are able to successfully shift the two rings from source pole to auxiliary, means from A to B. This is a this is a figure you have to see. See, if you see here, the first and the second one, I have shifted to this particular auxiliary. If I'm able to do that, then successfully I will be able to solve this particular problem. How? See here, the second one is here, first one is here. First one is shorter than the second one. The condition has been satisfied here. Now what I will do, I will simply remove the highest one, that is from source pole A. I'll be storing that here. That is nothing but your third figure. You can see I've shifted the largest one here. Now what I will do, I have to get these two here. Now if I remove this particular disk 1 and place it here, I cannot place disk number 2. So what I will do here is I will move this particular smaller disk 1 again to this particular location. Okay, and then I will be left with only one disk number 2 in this particular middle pole. From here I will take this and I will place it here. So disk number 2 will come here. Then finally this disk number 1, I'll shift it from here to here. Your task is completed. I will show you pictographically so that you people can understand here. Okay, that is the final thing what you people have to do. See, the final thing is 3. You can see here the largest one here, the smallest one here, and top of that you got it. So the final step is moving n minus string from the spare pole to the destination pole. So here the base case, what is the base case we have here? So since we are using regression here, you know that we'll be having a base case as well as regression. What is the base case? Always will be n equal to 1. So whenever you're left with only one disk, that only we are transmitting. So what is the one disk we had here is nothing but disk number 3. So in the previous diagram, previous slide, you can see here, let me show you. If you see here, what is the last disk we are left here? This is the last disk, and this is the one we are shifted from source node to the destination pillar, that is C, isn't it? So that is what he means to say exactly in this particular case. So what is the base case here? N equal to 1. So that is nothing but moving the ring from A to C. So from A to C, what is the ring? Third disk is the one which we are using B as a spare. So we have used B auxiliary B pillar as an auxiliary, and we have shifted it. Then if you talk about regression here, now we will be using regression to move. So the first disk and the second disk we have to move into the middle now. So for that we are using these steps, and the same steps we are going to use in our program. See here. So move n minus 1 rings from A to B. Now here we will be using spare matter. The spare pillar will be using different. First thing is we moved the ring from A to C. The third one we have moved it from 1 to there. Next what we are doing is moving n minus 1 rings from A to B. What is the task we did? From this particular A pillar, n minus 1 ring. N minus 1 ring means 3 minus 1 is 2. So 1 and second. So here only we got it right. In the previous slide, I have shown you, you got here B. So that is what move n minus 1 rings from A to B. That is ring number 1 and ring number 2. Now you are left only with the single ring here. That is ring number, disk number 3. Now this disk I wanted to move to C. So move the one ring left on A to C using B as pair. So means what is the only ring we are left here? Ring 3. So this ring is asking you to shift it to C. So you got ring number 3 here. Okay, you got a ring number 3. Now what I have to do after this? Move remaining n minus 1 rings. Sorry. Move remaining n minus 1 rings from B to C. So B consists of ring number 1 and 2. So that is n minus 1 rings. Now I have to move this n minus 1 rings, that is 2 rings, to this particular location, something called as C. How can I move this one? How can I move from B these 2 rings to this particular C? So I have to use this particular pillar as pair. Now this will be acting as a temporary. So what I will do, what is the first disk I have here? Disk number 1. So I will move that disk to this particular location here. Then what will happen? I am left only with one disk here. You can see a disk number 2. So I will simply shift this disk number 2 from B to C. So you got the second one here. And now you can see I am left only with the one disk here, the shortest one, which is present in A. So I will be shifting from A, that particular disk, to C. Okay, I'll be shifting this disk number A again to disk number C, and you got the first ring. So you are able to successfully move those 3 rings to here. Assume that it is taking this much time to shift 3 rings from pillar number A to pillar C. Assume if there are 72 rings are there, it will be a highly complicated chess and it is not going to solve so easily. A very, very highly complicated one. Okay, so that is what exactly we are going to see. So these are the three steps you people have to keep in mind, and based on this, we will be performing the operation. Operation is very easy. It's a very small program. See, you can see here your program is completed. This is the program what we have. So int tower, int char. So what are we are taking here? So I'm going to use regression function called as towers. So here I'm calling these pillars as towers. So in this I'm using first n. So how many disks we have? N equal to. So I'm writing this code for n number of disks. There I have taken example of 3. Even if you want, you can take 10 number of disks. If you want, you can take 72 also. It will work, but it will take long time, very long time in order to solve it. It may be like infinitely, it will keep on moving, and we may not be able to cover all the solutions. I will show you practically, don't worry. So here you can take, so I'm writing a code for n number of disk. So that n will be represented here, and this is a char for pillar number A. For how many pillars we have? A, B, and C. What is the condition? From A to C, I have to shift. So A, B, and C. Now the function. So int number, enter the number of disk. How many? Let us suppose 3. So I'm giving 3 disk here. So the sequence of moves involved. So what are the sequences we are taking here? That I am explaining here. So tower number. Number is how many disks? 3 disks. A, C, B. A is nothing but, so here char is nothing but C, and here it is B. Sorry. So here we'll be having a source node, destination node, and this is your auxiliary node, ACB. So here source node is A. This is your source node. From this particular pillar, you want to transmit the disk to C. So this is your destination. So this is your destination. This is your source. This is your destination. And this is B. B is a space matrix, or we can call it as a temporary or a auxiliary matrix. Now we are performing the operation void tower int number and all. If number equal to 1, so first disk, whenever the number is there, first disk, I'm simply moving that disk 1 from 1 to 2, source to destination. Okay, let me show you. So I'll show you diagrammatically this one. So this is the first step. How many disks we have? 3 disks. So if it is the first disk, what I'm checking the condition, if it is the first disk what I have, I simply move this particular disk from A to C. See, move disk 1 from percentage is nothing but source. What is source here? A. What is the destination here? C. So from A to C, I am storing that particular disk. That is disk number 1. And after that, I'm simply going tower n minus 1. How many we are left with? 2 disks. Source, space, destination. You can see here, this time this is A. This pair is nothing but B. This is destination. This is what you people have to keep in mind. Okay. Okay, let me show you the diagram. Then you will understand easily. See here. The first thing, what did I do in the step number 2? Whatever the first disk I had here, I move it to C. What did I do? I simply move it to this particular D. Next, what I have to do? What are the remaining disks we are left here? 2 and 3. Remaining, how many disks are left? 2 disks we are having here. So what we have to do? Now I have to do step by step. Now I will move the disk number 2 to B, auxiliary. So you can, sorry. Okay. So you can see here, that is what I'm doing here. Based upon this, it becomes easy. I have moved the second disk. Whatever the second disk I'm having, I'm moving to the pillar number B. What is pillar number B here? I'm using here spare. I'm calling it as a spare. So you can see a source node. So num minus 1. What is 3 minus 1? 2. Second disk. Second disk, I am moving from source. This is a source, right? From source node is this one source. This is destination. This is your spare. So I'm moving this from here to spare. Simple. Source, spare, destination. Did you see this? Destination is here. From source pillar, I'm shifting that to spare. You got it here? This is your first disk. This is second, third. Now what I have to do? Now simply move this from number source to destination. So source to destination, I'll be moving it. Okay. So whatever the number I have, I'm simply trying to move. What is that? This A is there. This I need to move it to the destination. That is what I'm here. Now if you see a tower, n minus 1, 2 minus 1 is how much? 1. here. So what exactly I'm going to do here? So, okay. So what exactly we are doing here? See, in the step 4, what did I do? Again, I'll be calling this method regression. Now this time, the first disk which is present in the particular destination, I will shift it to this particular location here. That is what I'm doing it. And after that, what I have to do? Again, so the last one, whatever the disk is there, I am moving it to the destination. That is what I'm doing. Move disk %d from %d to %d source to destination. From this A pillar, source pillar, I'm transmitting to the destination. And then finally, I am left here with something called as uh, this particular disk number 1 and 2. Now this one I have to bring it to this particular thing. So here A will be acting as a spare matrix here, spare pillar. So that is what exactly happening. So I'm moving this from B to here. And then finally what I have to do, so I have to move the I mean the second node, whatever I'm having the disk here, I need to move it to C. And then finally the first disk which is present here. So total 8 steps it is going to do in order to solve this particular problem. So if you see here, step number 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'll return it 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8. This is how your program is exactly going to work. Very, very easy. If you remember this, then it becomes very easy. Only first 2 steps you people have to keep in mind. What is the first step? You are moving from source pillar to destination, disk number 1. So if n is equal to 1, move disk from source to destination. You did it. Next, what you have to do, the second pillar you're shifting to this particular location is B. So that is what I'm doing. N minus 1 is 2. Second pillar, from source pillar, I'm shifting to space. So if you see here, what is the source here? A. From here, I'm transmitting to the spare. What is spare here? B. So it will be transmitted to this particular location. And after that, n minus, again it will take this function only, it will be executed. Remember, again this function will be executed. Don't assume that what we call another function. So n minus 1 is nothing but, again you're left with one disk you're left. So the one is nothing but the first disk. So here what it will do, that particular disk, it will be moving from source to spare. So indirectly here, this from destination, whatever we have, that will be storing it again back here in this particular location. So this is how exactly this particular function works. So if you see here in the, I mean in the second step, it is A to C. A to C, what is that? Disk 1. If you see here, disk 1, A to C. In the third step, what you're doing? So disk number 2. So the second step, disk number 2 will be moving from something called as A to B. And the third, in the fourth step. So this is second step, third step, this is fourth step. Fourth step, what I'm doing, I'm bringing again what we call the first one. The first disk, I'm coming from C to A. Sorry, C to B. And in the fifth step, what I'm doing, I'm moving the third disk from A to C. And in the sixth step, what I'm doing is I'm moving the first disk from B to A. And in the seventh step, I'm moving the second disk from B to C. And in the eighth step, I'm moving the first disk from A to C. And your task is completed. The same thing you will be getting as output here. Let me show you the output also. It becomes easy for you people to understand. So let me open the file. So it is something I have stored. Okay, let me show it here. I don't want to erase that because that is what we are going to tally. So here are, okay, it's a Tower of Hanoi problem. I have stored it with Hanoi, Hanoi.c. Yeah, this is a code what we have. So which I have shown you already. So let me execute it. Yeah, I got it here. So you can see here, enter the number of disks here. How many disks we have? 3. So when I gave 3 here, you can see here, what is the first step I written here? A to C. Did you get it? So disk number 1, A to C. Then disk number 2, A to B. Did you get disk number 2 from A to B? Then again, disk number 1 from C to B. You can see disk from C to B. Next, the third disk from A to C. You can see A to C, the disk number 3. Then disk number 1 from B to A. So B to 1, disk number 1. And again, the disk number 2 from B to C. You got it. And then finally, disk number 1 from A to C. Did you see this? You got all the steps. So this is the way how exactly your program works. Only thing you people have to remember here in this particular case is nothing but, okay, just let me erase it. Only thing, oh, sorry. So only thing what you have to keep in mind is nothing but these two steps. These three steps you people have to. So n minus 1 strings you have to store. So what we are doing? So when we had here 3 here, 3 disk. So n minus 1 means how many disk you have? 2 disk. These 2 disk I have to move from source to auxiliary. Isn't it? I have to store it from source to auxiliary or temporary pillar. What is the temporary pillar here? So these 2 disk I have to move to here. Simply the way I am speaking here, the same way you can write it. How many I'm telling? 2 disk n minus 1. So tower n minus 1. From where to where I have to move? From source, that is A to auxiliary B. So that is source to spare. Since I am using here spare here, so I am writing spare. And then finally comes destination D. And then after that, what I have to do? This I have stored it here. Now these n minus 1 disk, I have to move from where? Spare spare pillar to the destination. So you can see a spare, destination, source. The simple, the task is completed. So moving disk from percentage to percentage, number, source to destination. This is one step you people have to keep in mind. Your task is completed. Very, very easy. But here you have to remember that whenever you're calling first time number, so A is the source, then comes the destination, then comes your spare. So source node, source pillar, destination pillar, and then comes the spare pillar. So this is the way how you people can execute your. So if you want, we can test it with 10 also, but it will come a little lengthy. Let me show you the number of disks. Let us suppose, okay. So let us suppose I gave the number of disks here 10. Did you see this? So it took around 0. So this much, so we have to calculate it. It's a very, very difficult thing. Even it will come for 72. How many we have? 72, right? See, did you see this? It's keep on executing. It is not going to stop so easily. It is not so easy to execute 72 disk using 3 pillars. See, still it is running and we don't know how much time it is going to take in order to complete this. So I want you people to try this. Okay, so since we don't have much time, so it's already 2. So we have to wind up. So you people try it up and see how much time it takes in order to solve 72 disk from source pillar A to source pillar C. See, it's keep on running, keep on. It is not at all stopping. So now you can understand that how much gods might be working fully on that particular concept in order to do. So the day they are able to shift all the 72 disk from source node A to source node D, then this particular world will be destroyed. That's a myth. We don't know how or not. So see, it is still executing. Oh, it's a very difficult task. Yeah. Anyhow, I'm just closing it up. Okay, so you people can try it and let me know how much time it takes in order to execute it. Only thing you people have to remember is these two things. That is moving n minus 1 disk from source to spare. Okay, and then moving n minus 1 disk from spare to destination. So if you remember these two statements, writing this code is very easy. Okay, n minus 1 disk, you have to move from source to spare. Last one will be definitely destination. And in the second one, regression, moving n minus 1 disk from space pillar to destination. Then last will be something called as source. Done, your task is completed. So within 24 lines, you are able to solve this particular problem. So this is what we have in this particular session, and we have something called advantages and disadvantages. You people can just go through these particular advantages of regression followed with disadvantages. I will be giving you this advantages and disadvantages presentation to you. Okay, you people just go through it. So these are some of the advantages we have and disadvantages. I think you people are already familiar with this. In C programming, they might have covered it. The same thing is what we have actually discussed it. You people can just go through it. So this is all about what we have for your today's session. So I hope you people liked this particular concept and watching it. So this is all about for today's session. So thank you for watching.